Good evening and welcome to the City of Roswell Mayor and City Council meeting for June 13th, 2022. I am Mayor Kurt Wilson. I'd like to acknowledge the council members present. Councilmember Christine Hall, Councilmember Lee Hills, Councilmember William Morthland, Councilmember Peter Vanstrom. For the record, Councilmember Michael Palermo and Councilmember Marcelo Zapata have excused absences. The City Council voted to give Marcelo Zapata a medical leave of absence on January 24th, 2022. I will now turn it over to our City Administrator, Randy Knighton, to explain how the meeting is run. Mr. Knighton.
Thank you so much, Mayor Wilson, and good evening, everyone. In accordance with Section Chapter 3.70 of the City Code, the City Council shall hold regular public meetings. The purpose of City Council meetings are for the public to participate and to speak on agenda items which constitute formal decisions by the elected body. These items are listed on the published agenda, which can be accessed via the city website prior to the meeting. This is a public meeting, and some items require a formal public hearing. A significant and important component of city council meetings are to hear directly from citizens on the items listed on the published agenda. Public comments or questions are essential for the mayor and council to incorporate as they contemplate each decision. Citizens are at the top of our organizational chart, and therefore it is imperative for the mayor and council to hear from citizens in these meetings. If you would like to speak on an item, we ask that you fill out a comment card, which is located at the back of the room and at the podium, in order to ensure an accurate record of the meeting. We ask, of course, that everyone observe the principles of mutual respect and display the appropriate demeanor during the course of the meeting this evening, which should be and is reflective of our great community. The mayor is the presiding officer of the meeting and will ensure the orderly exchange of comments, questions, and discussion leading to decision-making by the elected body. Back to you, Mayor Wilson.
Thank you, Mr. Knighton. At this time, I would like to call Lindsay Lee Slocum, Executive Pastor for Roswell Presbyterian Church, to the front for the invocation and moment of silence.
I am one of the pastors at Roswell Presbyterian Church. The founder, who we often consider the father of Presbyterianism, is John Calvin. And John Calvin tells us that it is not only the most honorable, but the most sacred of positions and stations in mortal life is to be a civil magistrate. So then it is with great humility then that I would offer this prayer as we begin this time together. Let's pray. Creator and sustainer God, as we gather this evening, we give you thanks. We give you thanks for our community, for the friends we get to call neighbors, for the schools that care for and teach our children, for the organizations who care for the vulnerable among us. On a beautiful and sunny day like today, when our sights are clear and refreshed as we take a break from the busy schedule of a school year, we are proud to look around at this place we get to call home. As we give thanks tonight, God, we acknowledge the privilege and honor and responsibility of serving this community, for this important work that you have brought this group of people together to do. The work is hard, but it is so very sacred. And so we pray, dear God, that you would give this group of people wisdom and patience and endurance to care for your people, that they would listen to each other, that they would listen to the people of Roswell with tender ears and kind spirits, that they would be patient and thoughtful, always seeking the benefit of the people in the most faithful way possible. Help all of us, God, to be bold and humble in deeds, actions, and words. It is an overwhelming gratitude that we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Pastor Slocum. I'd like to call David Jimenez, National Historian of the National Society of Children of the American Revolution, to lead us in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, David. Next is the mayor's report, and the first item is a reading of a proclamation for the esteemed veteran of Roswell Award to Specialist 5th Class Thomas Henry Wright, Jr. I would like to call Specialist 5th Class Thomas Henry Wright, Jr. forward for the proclamation. Proclamation, Office of the Mayor. Specialist 5th Class Thomas Henry Wright, Jr., esteemed veteran of Roswell. Whereas in spring of 1969, Thomas Henry Wright, Jr. graduated with an associate's degree in architectural engineering from Southern Technical Institute, Marietta, Georgia, and was subsequently drafted by lottery, number 76, to serve in the United States Army. And whereas on March 19, 1970, Thomas reported to the Atlanta Induction Center and was assigned to Fort Knox, Kentucky for basic training. In lieu of advanced individual training, the Army recognized Thomas's college education, and he was sent to Fort Hood, Texas as an 81B-20 construction draftsman. This position was designated to design construction documents for the construction and assembly of components to create bridges, towers, and other structures to be used in the division to achieve different objectives. Thomas joined the 17th Engineer Group, which was the engineering component of the 2nd Armored Division, Hell on Wheels, where he rose to the rank of Specialist 4th Class Headquarters Company. In this assignment, Thomas assisted with the drafting, field operations, and on-call for transport to areas of conflict in the world, which consisted of war protests and overseas hijackings. Also, he maintained and supported the command unit and all the equipment required for the operations in the division. And whereas in April 1971, Thomas arrived in South Vietnam in the city of Nha Trang, South China Sea, and was assigned to the 21st Signal Group, which was over all signal and communications. In addition to his regular duties, Thomas was appointed by the commanding officer to represent the 21st Signal Group in the Enlisted Men's Council, which would oversee and represent the enlisted men for morale, camp conditions, and the day-to-day challenges that our soldiers were facing in time of war. Thomas was assigned to travel with the colonel on all visits to the signal position under our control in the 2nd Military Region. He would fly to Saigon to meet with the general over all signal in Southeast Asia, Vietnam, and Thailand, and was then subsequently promoted to Specialist 5th Class. And whereas during a time of war and triumph, and while enduring shelling and fighting from the enemy, Thomas contributed to the humanitarian efforts, along with other soldiers on a weekly basis, would deliver milk and ice cream and surplus supplies to the orphanages located in the countryside near Nha Trang. The staff and children who had lost so much in this conflict of war were appreciative for the treats and showed their appreciation by singing and just being happy for the moment of joy. And whereas Thomas received his honorable discharge on December 2nd, 1971, and was awarded the following medals: the National Defense Service Medal, the Vietnam Service Medal, the Republic of Vietnam Medal, Good Conduct Medal, and the Army Commendation Medal. Now, therefore, I, Curtin Wilson, Mayor of the City of Roswell, do hereby name Specialist 5th Class Thomas Henry Wright, Jr., an esteemed veteran of Roswell, and call upon all our citizens to recognize his outstanding service to our country and our community, and that there is no higher calling than those who have served in the United States Armed Forces. Mr. Wright, would you like to say a few words?
No, thank you.
You sure don't? Well, I would like to ask your family to come up here. This belongs to you, sir. So forgive me. This is yours. Thank you so much. I'd like to ask the council to come join me and family. Oh my gosh. These are fantastic pictures. We didn't show them overhand. See this good-looking man right here. This is the same guy. It's beautiful. Thanks so much for your service. Thank you, sir. Aren't those great? The next item on the mayor's report is the reading of a proclamation for National Flag Day. I'd like to ask Sue Gilbert, Regent of the Martha Stewart Bullock NSDR, Catherine Jimenez, Flag Chairman, Martha Stewart Bullock NSDR, and David Jimenez, National Historian and President of the Martha Stewart Bullock National Society of Children of the American Revolution, to join me while I read the flag proclamation. Welcome. So glad you're here. Thank you. Proclamation, Office of the Mayor, Daughters of the American Revolution, National Flag Day. Whereas in the midst of a revolution, less than a year after declaring our independence, the Congress consecrated what would become an endearing emblem of American unity by adopting a national flag on June 14th, 1777. And whereas the United States has grown and changed across the generations, and our flag has changed in turn. Since adoption of the Stars and Stripes, Americans and people around the world have continuously looked to our flag as a symbol of unity and liberty. Our flag has sailed around the globe and journeyed to the moon and Mars. As we continue the sacred work of building a more perfect union together, let our flag serve as a reminder to us and to the world that America stands for and strives for the promise of freedom, justice, and equality for all. And whereas the Congress of the United States on June 4th, 1777, adopted the first official flag of the United States, and on August 3rd, 1949, the Congress of the United States officially designated June 14th of each year as National Flag Day. On June 25th, 1965, a joint resolution was approved by the President to recognize a pause for the Pledge of Allegiance as part of National Flag Day ceremonies and urged all Americans to participate. Now, therefore, I, Curtin Wilson, Mayor of the City of Roswell, do hereby proclaim our participation in National Flag Day on June 14th, 2022, and invite all our citizens to join and honor the American spirit, to celebrate our history and the foundational values we strive to uphold. So I'm going to ask council to come join me for a picture with these fantastic folks. Catherine, would you like to say anything?
Well, I've given all the council members and you, Mayor, as well, a flag code pamphlet. It's a good idea for everyone to brush up on your flag code, how to respect and honor our flag, and how it should properly be hung and displayed. And June 14th is a great day to do that. Thank you.
Thank you so much for being here, and thank you for your leadership and for being here for the proclamation. Thank you. Everybody here? Thank you, sir. The next item on the mayor's report is a resolution for the expansion of the North Fulton Community Improvement District, the NFCID. At this time, I'd like to ask Alex Battle of the NFCID to come say a few words.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I appreciate you all letting me come before you tonight.
Welcome, Alex.
Recently, we have been approved by Fulton County for our expansion and require approval from the 3 cities that encompass the North Fulton CID. And this year, we're going to expand by $100,000 in annual revenue. And I just wanted to say we value our partnership with the city of Roswell and want to continue working with you all to make this a great place to be. Just wanted to ask you guys if you would please consider approving our expansion. And if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask.
Alex, thank you so much. Council, any comments or questions? With no questions or comments, I will ask for, just need to ask for a vote for the approval of resolution for the expansion of the North Fulton Community Improvement District, the NFICID. All those in favor, please raise your hands. I'm sorry, you need a motion? I thought you said you need a vote. Yes, you said a straight vote. My apologies for my lack of my legislative decorum. Do I have a motion for the approval of the resolution for the expansion of the NFICID?
Motion to approve.
Thank you, Councilmember Hills. I have a motion. Do I have a second? Okay, thank you, Councilmember Renstrom. I have a second. All those in favor of the approval of a resolution for the expansion of the NFICID? It passes unanimously. Thank you so much. Thank you, Alex, for your time this evening. Thank you.
Thank you.
Before we move, I guess, to the last item under the mayor's report, we always like to bring up good news and milestones in City of Roswell's employees' lives. And our short tenure here, probably there's been 2 most beleaguered Roswell staff. One is to my left. David Davidson is the city attorney. All of us enjoy giving him an immensely hard time, and he has earned every bit of it, I can assure you. The second one is that we have a young man who is the head of our IT department who's been with us a little bit over a year and has done an incredible job for our city and for our residents. And his name is Chris Zach, as our IT manager. And Chris is getting married on June 25th, and we want to wish him and his future wife, Corinne Paulson, all the happiness and announce their future betrothment. So just a little warm rouse of applause for Chris Zach and his future wife. The final item on the mayor's report, which will probably be the shortest item that we'll deal with tonight, I'm sure, is the second reading of the approval of the FY 2023 budget for the city of Roswell, Georgia, in the amount of $170,653,451. City Attorney David Davidson, would you please read the ordinance? And can you read it faster than you did last time,
I will
please?
do my best, Mayor. Thank you. This is an ordinance adopting a budget for the fiscal year 2023 for each fund of the City of Roswell, Georgia, pursuant to Article 6, Chapter 6 of the Charter of the City, beginning July 1st, 2022, and ending June 30th, 2023, appropriating the amounts shown in each budget as expenditures, adopting the item of anticipated funding sources, prohibiting expenditures to exceed appropriations, and prohibiting expenditures from exceeding actual funding sources, and amending the Code of Ordinances to effectuate such adoption. Now therefore, the Mayor and Council of the City of Roswell, pursuant to their authority, do hereby adopt the following ordinance. City of Roswell, Georgia hereby adopts an expenditure budget for fiscal year 2023, said budget being described below and shown on Schedule A for each fund of the City of Roswell, Georgia. The General Fund, $94,646,000 $271. ARPA, $8,934,100. Confiscated Assets Fund, $25,000. E911 Fund, $3,121,005. Grant Fund, $1,055,829. Impact Fees Fund, $1,534,499. Hotel Motel Fund, $1,850,700. Auto Rental Excise Fund, Tax Fund, $425,000. Lita Thompson Fund, $67,019. Special Events Fund, $402,000, $498. Capital Projects, $12,093,895. Bond Fund, Debt Service, $1,685,100. Water and Sewer Fund, $4,533,487. Stormwater Utility Fund, $4,293,400. Solid Waste Fund, $13,746,107. Participant Recreation Fund, $6,938,463. Workers' Compensation Fund, $857,885. Group Health Insurance Fund, $10,442,536. Risk Management Fund, $1,671,391. Fleet Services Fund, $2,329,216. And the Scholarship Endowment Fund of $50 for a total of $170,653,451. Any increase or decrease in appropriations or revenue of any fund or for any department, the establishment of new capital projects or the establishment of new grant projects other than those exceptions provided for herein shall require approval of mayor and council. A millage rate of 4.718 mills is estimated as part of the proposed budget. This budget fixes the number of budgeted full-time positions of the city at 665. This number may only be increased or decreased through approval of the mayor and city council. City administrator or his designee is authorized to distribute funds reserved for the merit-based pay increase, transfer for fleet parts and repair, and group benefits increase included in the fiscal year 2023 budget to the various departments as necessary. The mayor and council adopt a capital improvement plan for fiscal years 2023 through 2027 as attached hereto and incorporated in herein as Schedule B. The remainder of the text is incorporated herein by reference, and if approved, this will be the second reading.
David, I could have sworn you had about 5 more pages to read. Is that it?
I did, I just incorporated.
Okay. All right. Fantastic. So you took us about 25 minutes off.
I tried.
Thank you, sir. So we are pleased to have Lynn Williams, our budget manager, and she is going to come, well, she's already here, to do a presentation on the second reading of the budget. So Lynn, the floor is yours. Welcome.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, everyone. Here I am to talk about the second reading of our proposed budget. I just wanted to go through a quick recap of our process. The budget is definitely a year-long process. This is the review and adoption phase, and our budget year will start on July 1st. We did have 4 work sessions in which the public were invited to hear all the different details. We talked through Capital and American Rescue Plan Act in January. The economic outlook and forecast was given in February. The compensation and benefits, including revenues and fees, also on March. And the partner organizations came in and gave presentations in April. We had a 2-day mayor and council budget workshop in April 21st and 22nd. The budget presentation was given here May 9th. The first reading was on May 23rd, and we did make changes to the proposed budget with the first reading. And I will say that all the charts throughout the rest of the presentation reflect those changes that were passed on the first reading. So this is the second reading. The 23 proposed budget highlights have remained the same. The proposed budget is balanced and is a little flexible. The 100-day plan and strategic plan priorities, of those, some of those were funded, including the best-in-class police pay plan. The first year of the transition to first full-time fire department was also funded. the River Parks Plan, and East Roswell Park improvements are also included. For all funds, the new total is $192.7 million. The top 82% is highlighted in 3 categories: property taxes, charges for service, internal and external, sales tax. I'm going to talk about the sales tax and the property tax. So property tax category includes taxes on residential, commercial, and other taxes, including title ad valorem taxes on vehicles. Property tax on residential and commercial are based on 2 things: the assessed value, fair market, and the millage rate. Fulton County sets the assessed value, and Roswell will review the millage rate at mayor and council meetings in the coming months. Roswell has still not received our preliminary digest as of yet. The sales tax revenue, so this is the sales tax that you have on regular purchases that you make. Part of that is a local option sales tax. That's 1 penny of what you have on your taxes when you're paying it anywhere. And transportation special purpose local option sales tax. And that is 0.75 of a penny, and we get a portion of that penny and a portion of that 0.75 penny. For all of Fulton County comes to Roswell. The revenue is showing at $30 million for 22 and 29.5 for 2023 for the local option sales tax, which goes to general fund, and then the T-SPLOST goes into its own fund for transportation, and that is 19.2 in 22 and 18.5 in 23. These are our uses of funds. This is our expenses. The top 3 are environmental public works at $28.2 million, police department at $31.2 million, and recreation and parks at $35.4 million. This is our full-time position history. The number here has gone up from 664 to 665 from the first reading when we added 1 additional position, but that also includes the 21 fire captains and the other additional positions described. For the next 3 slides, the revenues rates are on the agenda later on tonight. So occupation tax, sanitation rates, and the stormwater rates are all on an agenda item for tonight. The occupation tax was adjusted from the lowest in the region to be comparable with other North Fulton cities. The increase of revenue to general fund is $4 million, and this is sometimes referred to as business license if you've never heard of what that is. Stormwater fees, these are based on your impervious surface. The rate increase proposed for 2023 for most of the residential customers, it has increased from $425 a month to $495 a month. That will give us $587,000 in stormwater fund revenue. This allows for 50% increase in funding for stormwater maintenance projects. Solid waste fees, this increase was primarily driven in the residential side. It was impacted by the waste management, yard waste, and recycling contract escalation, and it's an increase to most residential for 1.17 per month for FY 2023. The expenditure assumptions, the merchant fees is also on the agenda tonight. That includes the credit card payments. When we use credit card payment or allow citizens to use credit cards with us, we have been absorbing that fee across all of our users. Now we would like to attribute those to the ones that use the service and attach it to the service. Debt repayment, this was completed and approved by Mayor and Council on May 23rd. This assumes repayment of 2 loans and has been approved. This allows for redirection of $713,000 in recurring funding from debt service to higher priority operating enhancements. Some of the first reading changes, we had a list of changes that we read for the first reading. These added up to $691,390. The resulting budget surplus will be able to provide flexibility to mayor and council in allowing the millage rate to be reduced once we double check the property digest values. The adds and deletes are on this page. We added in Recreation and Parks the project manager position and increased funding for Roswell Inc. for $57,500. We also, for the next 3 items, the computer replacement, cardiac monitor, and fire vehicle replacement, we will discuss those tomorrow at the end of year budget amendment at committee. And instead of buying them using lease purchase, we will buy them outright using funds from the current year. So it reduced the lease revenue and the expense out of 23, which is why it's a net of 0 there. In general fund, after all the changes, it was 95.2 in revenue. The primary sources is sales tax, property tax, and business taxes, with a little bit of other revenues and uses of reserves. For general fund, the use of funds, so these are the departments that use the funds. Police Department, Recreation, Administration, Fire, and Transportation are 80% of our spending at $94.6 million. On the next slide, I'm going to show the same information, but by type instead of by department. So this is the salaries and benefits. It's 65%, the operating is 20%, and transfers, capital, and other are 15%. This is our general fund summary. I've shown this a couple of times, but I know that it changed with the first reading. The $4 million at the top of the page had not changed. This is our fund balance above appropriation. And this was by above policy and above appropriation. What I mean is that the $4 million, we do have a reserve on general fund of 25% of operating. So this $4 million was above that reserve and was available as of the financial report from 2021. We're adding to that the proposed revenues of $93.1 million. The base budget adjusted down based on the changes, so that it's now 81.38. The program changes are 5.16. Partner organizations went up to 702,500. Maintenance capital, 5.3 million. The total operating requests are 11.16. To add to the total operating budget of 92.5 million. So if you take that 93.119 at the top and subtract the 92, you get the 570,471. So that is current year revenues above and beyond what we are budgeting to spend. The next line, the 2 million, is the resources used for one-time capital. That's roughly 2.1 million. And the proposed budget with that one-time capital in there is 94.6. So that's the 92.5 plus the 2.1. The next item down there is the 25% increase. So because we do set aside 25% of operating as our reserve, as you increase your budget, you do have to increase that reserve. So that increase at the bottom for allocated is 1.69, and that adds to the reserve that we already had. So the total available general fund balance is $829,318. So I know he read off the ordinance, so I'll just do a little tiny highlight. This does give us the allocation to use by fund and department. This does give us the total number of employees that we cannot exceed. The contingencies, it sets up 3 contingencies for us: fuel and utility, operating contingency, grant match contingency. And these are the types of funds that we will carry over from 22 into 23. Capital projects, grant funding, employee wellness, et cetera, et cetera. The FY 2023 budget will be available on the roswellgov.com/budget, and hard copy is available. And thank you.
Lynn, thank you so much. Excellent job. And thank you for the fantastic work you have done since we've been here on the budget. And I just want to take a second and thank Ryan Luckett, our finance director, Lynn Williams, our budget manager, their team of Karen Swinehart, Yul Anderson, and Yul Windandabo, forgive me, Yul Windandabo.
Bible.
Say again?
Mawinda the Bible.
Say it again.
Mawinda Bible.
Yul. Thank you, Yul. I'd like to say a quick thank you for all the work that you guys have done on this FY23 budget. It has been remarkable. It has literally been hundreds upon hundreds of hours. So thank you for all your hard work. So the city, I don't think doesn't know what a great team they have in you guys. You guys are fantastic. So thank you. Lynn, with that being said, I'm going to turn this over to council and see if they have any questions or comments on the FY23 budget presentation that you just made. Council. Councilmember Hall.
Thank you, Mayor. And I echo the gratitude to the entire finance team. This is no small task, and also to my colleagues and Mayor for leading this incredible process, and City Administrator Knighton for all your support, and Mr. Fisher and all of the staff. This really has been a collaborative, very hard process. We turned we turned over a lot of stones. I know we found some good savings, and we will continue to work that as we continue our zero-based budgeting, but also very exciting that we've put our city on the path. We just sat through our fire department gap analysis, and we've been able to put our city on the path to address one of the biggest gaps that we have with our personnel. And also, and I'll defer to my colleague, Councilmember Hills, to maybe comment on the police area. But very exciting, and I just wanted to express my gratitude to everybody on behalf of the citizens of Roswell.
Chris, thank you, Councilmember Hall. I think I would be lacking if I did not make well known the amount of work. Christine, Councilmember Hall is in charge. She is the liaison to the Finance Department from City Council. And probably for some in the past, it's probably been a swish in the night and a pass by. For Christine Hall, it is anything but. As she uses her professional experience as a CPA and working in corporate America for a large CPA firm, and she's used it well for this city in being diligent and vigilant about finding out every bit of information she can on every budget item, and has been incredibly invaluable in this budget process. So Christine, thank you for your leadership on this. Councilmember Hills, would you like to comment on the police and fire?
Mr. Mayor, I sure would. I want to add also that probably being the least savvy around a budget, I have worn out Ryan's ear and Lynn's eyes when I say, tell me that again. So coming in January, when we postponed the passing of the midterm budget, I was so relieved to have 2 more weeks to get that under my belt. So I didn't have it then. I'm not going to fake it. But we have, as Councilmember Hall said, we have spent hours upon hours, couple of days in a row at a retreat, and most recently a project workshop, combing through the most important things to our residents that we can do, some things that have been sadly overlooked over the last decade, some things that have been on a wish list for more than a decade, and some things that we all came in, 4 of the 5 of us here tonight, as far as electeds, we're passionate about getting done when we were elected, not if we were elected. And so we're here to stand up for our residents, stand up for our departments. It's a delight to know that we're about to pass, hopefully, but pass the best-in-class pay for our amazing Roswell Police Force. Loving that we are moving forward with our amazing Roswell Fire Department, and making sure that our residents are seriously put first every single day, and when you go to bed, every single night. So I sweat every day thinking about the budget because it's not my strong suit, but it is a delight for me to be a participant in that and moving that forward so that we can all represent you well. And we're all ears. If you've got feedback on that, we'd like to know it so that we can continue to serve the residents the best.
Thank you, Councilmember Hills. Councilmember Vanstrom.
I'd just like to clarify something, just in case. Lynn did mention that we increased funding to Roswell, Inc. in $57,000. Let me just clarify, that was bringing Roswell, Inc. back to the amount that they were funded last year in last year's budget. We didn't increase that any further. I know it was between first and second readings. I just wanted to clarify that.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Councilmember Vanstrom. Councilmember Mortland.
On behalf of the staff of the Recreation, Parks, Historical Assets, and Cultural Affairs Department, thank you very much for the funds for this project manager position. They are very excited. These funds will be spent and wisely used. They're truly grateful. Thank you again.
Thank you, Will. Peter, would you like to speak on behalf of Michael Palermo? Since she's not here, you can thank some folks if you want to.
I couldn't possibly talk that long. But I would like to say, just in general, first of all, a huge compliment. Again, I want to echo the mayor. Every council member here has individual talents that we bring to the table, and we work so well together with those talents. And Christine has done a yeoman's job, and I just want to echo that. It's just incredible as a volunteer elected official. My goodness, thank you so very much. And working with our staff, our finance folks are top notch. I'd put them against any city in the country, as well as our entire team. It's just a lot of pride that we're presenting this budget and moving forward with it for the coming year. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Peter. And Lou, forgive me for absolutely butchering your name. We're going to work on that a lot. I promise you. Ryan, before we turn comment over to the public, would you like to say anything?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to take an opportunity, since everybody's thanking everyone. I greatly appreciate your leadership, Mayor, and as well as our City Administrator, Mr. Knighton, and all your guidance and leadership throughout this process. It's been a great process. I also want to thank our staff in the Finance Department for the great job that they have done, as well as all the department heads and all the department staff that have also put in all the hours to make this budget so successful. So thank you very much.
Ryan, thank you. You're always very understated and humble, and it's been a tremendous joy for me to pick on you on this budget. I've absolutely enjoyed just giving you a hard time, so thank you for allowing me to do that. With that being said, I'd like to offer comments to the public that would like to make any comments on the potential approval of the FY 2023 budget for the City of Roswell. And obviously, if you do come, please come in the front. If you're not comfortable, let me know. I'll bring a microphone to you if you'd like to speak from where you're sitting. So is there anybody from the public that would like to speak on the FY 2023 budget? Welcome, sir. And since I know who you are, but nobody else, please tell us who you are and where you live. And I got to cut you at 5 minutes.
I'll do it. Hello, everyone. I'm John Reddick, a proud resident of Roswell. I want to first thank all of you for what you're doing now. The 100-day plan and the forward progressions that you're doing as a team with staff and council in the mayor's office is admirable. So thank you for doing that. In particular, I would like to also offer some significant support for the adoption of the best-in-class police pay. I'm a graduate of the core community class a few years ago here in Roswell. I'm also a graduate of the RPD Civilian Police Academy. So I've had a chance to work with these fine officers. And I just want to emphasize with you how fortunate we are to have the quality of people that we have. In this society right now, to be an EMS or a fireman or a police officer, when dispatch sends you out, you don't know what you're going to have. You have to be prepared for any instance. And so the better officers that we can hire, the better officers that we can retain, benefits all of us as residents of this great city. My understanding right now is that we're around 10 vacancies in the department. we have the opportunity, passing this plan, to fill those vacancies in a rather rapid mode and can deploy another 10 officers out on the street in 2 months. How good would that be? How good would that be to live in a city that has 100% efficiency in its police department? So once again, I want to say thank you for all you do. It's so refreshing to see this progression in the 100-day plan, and I urge you to pass the budget and the best in class. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Thank you for coming to see us and speaking publicly. Thank you, sir. Anyone else from the public that would like to make a comment on the FY 2023 budget? Yes, sir. Welcome. Please share with us your name and where you live, and welcome.
My name is Chip Fishburne. I've been a Roswell resident for almost 20 years. And much like the previous speaker, I guess you can tell by the shirt I'm wearing how I feel about what you all are doing with the best in class. So Mayor Wilson and council members, first of all, I want to start by thanking you for your commitment to serve the needs of the Roswell citizens. That's very important to us. And this is the first council meeting I've attended in some time, and there feels like a different air in here, and so that's good to see and that's good to hear. I think as long as you continue to listen, and it sounds like you are, to the needs that we have as citizens, for those of you that choose to be reelected when your time is here, that's a pretty good outcome. And for those that don't listen, and it's no different in other facets of life, that's the really cool thing about this thing we call democracy, is the voters have choices. And so I want you to know also, and this is really important to me and to a lot of the citizens. I mean, I'm a gun owner. I have a carry permit, and whenever I go down to downtown Atlanta, because I'm very involved in some charity events down there and some of the homeless shelters. And unfortunately, even when I go to Buckhead, and I say that unfortunately because it didn't used to be this way, I feel compelled to protect myself. But I can tell you, I don't have that same need, and I don't feel that same need here in Roswell, and that is clearly because of the men and the women of the Roswell Police Department. I also understand there's a lot of competing interests that you all have, you know, making decisions about the budget, and that's not easy, and it's good to see that we're uncovering all the rocks and the stones and looking for where we can save some money here. But I feel compelled, and I feel that probably a majority of the citizens that voted for you have safety right up there at the top of their list of priorities for Roswell. Hey, and I get it. Transportation, economic development, public works, parks and rec, they're all important to us as citizens. But if we can't be safe, we can't enjoy all those other resources. And I know in the past, you know, this is a situation that's kind of accumulated over time, but we are very fortunate. I have recently had the opportunity to do a ride-along with one of the officers. I had an opportunity to do a sit-in. Boy, when you get to really see what these men and women do for us and how they put their lives on the line every day for us, it makes me feel real good to hear the commitment that you all have to getting them back where they're competitive with some of our neighboring communities, but they deserve even, I think, to be a little bit of ahead. So I just want to thank you again, and I appreciate the opportunity to address you. Thank you.
Thank you so much for being here. Thank you, sir. That does deserve a round of applause. Hey, Chief Conroy, let me ask you a quick question. Doesn't this put us at the top of the area in pay? That was the whole ideal, I was thinking, that we were moving from, you know, to your comment, so one of the things historically, if you look at us, we would have a pay increase, get to where the other cities go, the other cities would go. So we'd always stay medium to low in the pay grade. And this was a leapfrog effort. So doesn't this take us to the top?
So this will, for most of our ranks, will take us to the top, and our starting salaries will be at the top. As John mentioned, this will afford us the opportunity to attract and recruit currently certified police officers in Georgia who are looking for a change, who want to come to Roswell. It will allow us to attract the best of the best and get them on the streets quickly without having to put them through a full police academy. And it will also reward our officers that are here and bring their salaries up to the top of our region.
Thank you, Chief. I'm going to be gratuitous, and I will do it probably 100 more times in the next 3 years, 6 months, and 18 days when I speak about Chief Conroy and Chief Panino. And they are great sports, but talk about best in class. We have the best in class police chief. This man used to run 1,300 badges, and that not necessarily is necessarily good of whether you're good or not. But what Chief Conroy brings to this city in terms of experience, wisdom, discernment, leadership, and we have a strategic policy, thanks to Chief Conroy, that most cities don't get and should get. He has a standard operating platform in law enforcement, which is so far ahead of the curve, which is basically de-escalation. And using the de-escalation model is a recipe for success with your residents and with those who break the law. And I got to tell you, I am so appreciative of having that kind of leadership and that kind of wisdom at the helm. So thank you, Chief Conroy.
Thank you, sir.
Other comments from our Roswell residents on our FY23 budget? Welcome, sir. Hi, how you doing? Please share with us who you are and where you live, and glad to have you.
Mr. Mayor, my name is Basim Fakhouri. I've been a proud resident of Roswell for almost 14 years now. I just wanted to add my voice as a minority that lives in this beautiful city of the importance of the fire and police departments. None of us want to call them. We really don't want to be at their, in need of them. But when we do, we want to know that they can bring the best tools, the best training to help us out of that, whatever jam that we're in. And if you can imagine the city of Roswell as being a car, and you guys sort of in charge of where it goes, and everybody else in charge of, making sure it has gas and everything like that. The police and the fire departments are like the brakes. They keep us out of trouble. They are helping us when we need them the most so that we don't lose control over where we want to go. So I just want to add my voice to those that support funding the police and the fire department to the maximum possible. And I want to thank you again for all your service. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for your comments. We're really glad you came to be with us this evening. Thank you. Other Roswell residents that would like to speak publicly? And if you feel uncomfortable, like I said, I'll bring the microphone to you if you would like to speak from the pew. So I'm going to interpret the comments from Roswell residents are done at this point, and I'm going to return comments and questions back to the council. So I'm going to bring comments and questions back to the council. I have a strategy if you want to talk about that later, but if we can talk about it now. Any council questions or thoughts on the FY23 budget? There's two options. You can, oh, sorry. Council, comments, thoughts, or questions on the approval of the FY 2023 budget? With no further comments or questions from the council on the approval of the FY 2023 budget, do I have a motion to pass the FY 23 budget? I have a motion from Councilmember Hall. Do I have a second? I have a second from Councilmember Hills. All those in favor of approval of the FY 2023 budget for the city of Roswell, Georgia, in the amount of $170,653,451 for the second reading, please raise your hands. Vote passes unanimously. I thank you very much. Next is the consent agenda. Are there any comments or questions from the council with respect to the consent agenda? Being that there are no comments or questions from the council on the consent agenda, I move it to the public. Are there any comments or questions on any items related to the consent agenda that would like to be addressed by Roswell residents? Being that there are no, Being that there are no comments or questions from the public, Roswell residents, on the consent agenda, I bring it back to council. Any additional comments, thoughts, or questions? Being that there are no thoughts, questions, or comments on the consent agenda, do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Motion to approve the consent agenda.
Motion by Councilmember Morthland. I have a second from Councilmember Vanstrom. All those in favor of approving the consent agenda, please raise your hands. Consent agenda passes unanimously. Thank you very much. Next is the Community Development Department. Councilmember Lee Hills, will you please read the first community development item?
Yes, Mayor, thank you. It is my understanding that the applicant for the approval of RZ 20215342 Civic and institutional to PV Parkway Village / CV 20215343 at 1340 Woodstock Road and 11450 Bowen Road has been postponed, correct?
I think deferred.
Deferred?
Deferred.
So the applicant has requested a deferral to the July 11th Mayor and Council meeting. You do need to take a motion and a vote for that official deferral.
Jackie, thank you for that clarity.
Thank you.
Council, do I have a motion to accept the deferral to the July 11th meeting on this particular zoning issue? Motion to accept. Motion by Councilmember Vanstrom. Do I have a second? Seconded by Councilmember Hills. All in favor of deferring this particular zoning item, approval of RZ 202-15342, CIV, to the July 11th meeting, raise your hands. It is unanimous. Thank you very much. It is deferred to July 11th. Thank you very much, Jackie. The Councilmember Hills, would you read the next item under community development?
Yes, number 2, thank you, Mayor. Approval of the initiation of a text amendment to the Unified Development Code, which is the UDC, to Section 10.3, signs, and Section 14.2, defined terms. And Ms. Diebold, if you'd help us along there, please, ma'am.
Yes, so this is the initiation of text amendment to Article 10, site development, signs, and Article 14, definitions, defined terms. So what we're looking to do with this text amendment is the removal of the entire Unified Development Code, Section 10.3, and replace with a new section. It'll include technical sections related to sign types, size, material, placement. All that will remain unchanged. We will be adding a purpose, definitions, permit requirements and procedures, permit revocation and expiration, sign permit and sign installation enforcement. We will also be removing duplicate defined terms related to signage from Section 14.2, and those definitions will be located in Article 10.3.2 definitions within the new sign code as well. So what we're looking from you tonight is the approval of the initiation of this text amendment. Staff recommends approval.
Thanks, Jackie. Thank you very much. Does council have any questions or comments? With no questions or comments from council, does anyone from the public that would like to speak on this item? Being that there's no one from the public like to speak on this item, I bring it back to council for any questions, comments, or thoughts on this particular matter. Being that there are no thoughts, comments, or questions from the council on the approval of the initiation of a text amendment to UDC to Section 10.3 signs and Sections 14.2 defined terms, I ask for a motion for approval. Councilmember Hills, do you have a motion? Thank you.
Motion to approve.
Thank you so much. I apologize for stepping all over you there. Do I have a second? Second. Seconded by Councilmember Mortland. All those in favor, please raise your hands. It's unanimous. Please, thank you very much. Thank you. Councilmember Hills, would you read the last item under community development?
Thank you, Mayor. Approval of the initiation of a text amendment to the UDC to Section 9.7.20, parking on site. Ms. Dybel?
As stated, this is the initiation for text amendment 9.7.20, parking on site. This is going to remove the existing section that's currently in the code in its entirety and replace with a new 9.7.20. We're going to be adding text addressing parking of commercial vehicles in the residential zoning districts, commercial mixed-use, historic downtown and office zoning districts, including hotels. This is going to indicate, it's going to discuss commercial vehicles, tractor trailers, any hotel or motel providing designated parking spaces, and also commercial vehicles may be parked overnight or for storage purposes only in industrial zoning districts or as provided herein. And then parking on vacant commercial property will be prohibited. So this is the initiation of the text amendment. It will go through the process as stated before, and I didn't indicate it the last one, but once initiated, it'll be heard by the Planning Commission in July, and it'll come back here to the Mayor and Council for first reading in August and second reading most likely the fourth Monday in August or the second Monday in September. Staff recommends approval.
Thank you, Jackie. Thanks very much. Council have any questions or comments? Councilmember Venstrom.
Thanks, Jackie, for doing this, and ComDev for working so hard on this. I just wanted to remind the public that one of the biggest concerns that I hear constantly from East Roswell is a number of those temporarily, currently unused properties housing trucks overnight that don't belong there, semis and such. And that's what, I just want to clarify that this is the ordinance that will be dealing with that directly, and I'm excited to be bringing that forward and having that resolved for East Roswell.
Peter, thank you for that excellent illumination. Spot on. Thank you, sir. Council, any other thoughts or questions? With that being said, is there anyone from the public that'd like to speak on this matter? With there being nobody from the public that'd like to speak on this matter, I bring it back to council for any further questions or comments. There being no questions or comments additionally from the council, Councilmember Hills, do you have a motion?
I motion to accept and approve the initiation of a text amendment to the UDC to Section 9.7.20, parking on site.
Thank you, Councilmember Hills. Do I have a second? Seconded by Councilmember Morthland. All those in favor, please raise your hands. It passes unanimously. Thank you very much. Next is the Finance Department. Councilmember Hall, will you please read the first item under Finance?
Thank you, Mayor. Yes. Item number 4, approval for the city to assess a fee for credit card payments. And Mr. Luckett will present.
Thank you, Councilmember Hall. This is an item related to our budget. So I just have a little bit of information to share with you all. We talked about this at the last committee meeting. Just to provide some background, as you know, we accept a variety of payments collected here at the City of Roswell for things such as utilities, taxes, court fines, a variety of other purposes. Our customers are able to make payments through a variety of channels, including in person, online, via telephone. That includes cash, check, credit card, debit card, ACH, and our bank bill pay. Merchant services fees, these are fees that are assessed by credit card processors to the merchants. In this case, would be the city, for payments by credit card. These fees typically include a % charge as well as a flat fee. Historically, in the past, the city has absorbed all of these merchant fees, with a couple of exceptions that we noted at committee last time. This chart gives you a 5-year history of our merchant services fees, and you can see these have steadily increased, especially as we went into the pandemic. And the most recent calendar year, our merchant services fees were well over $500,000, and we expect those to continue to increase as we move forward and people begin using other forms of payment. The FY 2023 budget assumed that merchant fees would no longer be absorbed by the city, and we do need Mayor and Council approval to begin assessing a service fee to recover those merchant fee expenses.
Providing some other background related to our neighboring cities. The city of Alpharetta, they do absorb merchant fees with the exception of some of their community development payments. Both Johns Creek and Milton do pass these fees on to their customers, and Sandy Springs has kind of a mixed approach depending upon the particular type of payment. So our recommendation would be to move forward with assessing a service fee for credit card and debit card transactions. That service fee would be 2.5% for both online and in-person use, and it would be effective July 1st, 2022. There is one exception that we are requesting, and that would be related to our Recreation and Parks Department. They are requesting for the service fee related to their payments to be effective January 1st, 2023. That's primarily for a couple of reasons. One, pending determination of what the service fee will actually need to be, as well as addressing and identifying some other options for no-cost payment options for their customers. The other reason being they're sort of in the middle of a registration cycle and would like to begin this process with a new registration cycle once that begins. So those are the recommendations, and also wanted to point out the no-cost alternatives that will be in place, convenient options for our customers that they can still access. That would include signing up for automatic bank draft, and that affects our utilities only. As well as utilizing bank bill pay, and that can be used for both utilities and property taxes. And of course, we will still accept cash or check. So I'll be glad to answer any questions.
Your mic.
Marley? Okay, sorry. Thank you, Marley. Anybody from the public like to speak on this item? Being that nobody from the public likes to speak this item, bring it back to council. Any thoughts, questions, or comments? Being that there are no comments, thoughts, or questions additionally from council, Councilmember Hall, do you have a motion?
Yes, Mayor. Motion to approve item 4, approval for the city to assess a fee for credit card payments per the terms identified in Director Luckett's presentation.
Thank you, Councilmember Hall. Do I have a second? Seconded by Councilmember Mortland. All those in favor, please raise your hands. The motion passes unanimously. Thank you, Council. Thank you, Mr. Luckett. Councilmember Hall, would you please read the second item under Finance?
Yes, Mayor. Item number 5, approval of a resolution adjusting stormwater utility rates, sanitation rates, and occupation tax rates. Again, presented by Director Luckett.
Thank you. This item is also related to our FY 2023 budget. This is a separate fee resolution that's needed to effectuate all of the various rate and fee adjustments that were included in the FY 2023 budget. Primarily, this addresses occupation tax, solid waste fees, and stormwater fees. So I'll begin with occupation tax. Just to provide a little bit of background, this is a tax enacted by local governments for the purpose of raising revenue. It's levied on businesses and practitioners that have an office or location within the city. It's commonly known as business license. And here in Roswell, we assess this based upon a business's gross receipts, profitability, and the number of employees. The current process in Roswell has been in place since 2018. So our current Roswell tax rates, as you heard Lynn mention earlier during the budget presentation, were among the lowest tax rates in our region. This change would make them more comparable to our neighboring cities. This chart shows you the current tax rate across the various classes that we have in our occupation tax structure and the proposed tax rate that is included in the resolution. The new fee resolution would also include an exemption of $100,000 that would only apply to businesses reporting $100,000 in gross receipts or less. And there would also be a new occupation tax cap of no more than $85,000. This chart we went over at our last meeting and just provides an illustration of how this change looks across some of our most common business types in Roswell. So what it shows you here is basically, like I said, a few examples of some businesses in Roswell, some example average gross receipts, what is currently paid, and what would be paid under the proposed tax structure, and then how that compares to our neighboring cities of Milton, Johns Creek, and Sandy Springs. Just to point out, the only reason we're only showing Milton, Johns Creek, and Sandy Springs is because Alpharetta does not use this form of assessing occupation tax. So what you see on this chart basically is that the green boxes represent the lowest rates and the red boxes represent the highest rates among these examples. And so as you can see, Roswell, as we've mentioned before, pretty much right in the middle and pretty comparable to most of the other North Fulton cities. That addresses occupation tax, and then moving on to our utility rates. The first one we want to talk about is stormwater fees, and Lynn addressed this earlier as well. The stormwater rates, we are recommending an increase across the board. This would allow for an increase of approximately $587,000 in stormwater fund revenue, which would allow the department to address the backlog of stormwater capital projects that need to be addressed. That's a 50% increase in funding for stormwater capital projects. On the solid waste side, this fee increase, as Lynn mentioned, is driven primarily by the waste management, yard waste, and recycling contract escalation. The standard residential service increases by $1.17 per month. It's an annual impact of about $14.04. On a small commercial account, the annual impact of this rate increase would be about $13.20. So we are recommending approval of the FY23 fee resolution. I'll be glad to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Luckett. Exactly. Does council have any questions or comments for Ryan? Being no questions or comments for Mr. Luckett on this matter, is there anyone from the public that would like to speak on this matter? Being that nobody from the public would like to speak on this matter, I bring it back to council and ask for any additional thoughts or questions or comments. Thank you very much. Council Member Hall, do you have a motion?
We're a quiet group tonight. Motion to approve item number 5, approval of a resolution adjusting stormwater utility rates, sanitation rates, and occupation tax rates.
Thank you, Councilmember Hall. Do I have a second? Second. Seconded by Councilmember Hill. All those in favor, please raise your hands. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Luckett. Thank you for your time. We'll now go to the City Attorney's report, Mr. David Davidson. David, would you please read the first item on your report?
Thank you, Mayor. The first item I have is a resolution to extend a temporary moratorium on the acceptance of conditional use applications for multifamily uses unless such multifamily use is an existing conforming use on the property or such multifamily conditional use application is outside the historic district and within a mixed-use development where the square footage of non-residential uses are greater than 75%, as described in the Unified Development Code, Section 13.4.3, in order to make amendments to the Roswell UDC. Basically, this would be a 60-day extension of the priorly adopted 90-day moratorium in order to get the current ordinances adopted.
Thank you, Mr. Davidson, for the reading of the resolution and for the clear explanation of what its impact is. Does council have any questions or comments on the matter? With no comments or questions from council, does anybody from the public have any comments or questions on the matter? Being that there are no comments or questions from the public on the matter, I return to the council. Does council have any additional thoughts, questions, or comments on the matter? Now it's left up to me to make a motion. Do we have a motion on the resolution to extend a temporary moratorium? Motion to approve. So I have a motion. Do I have a second? think I have a second for motion by Councilmember Vanstrom, seconded by Councilmember Mortland. All those in favor of a resolution to extend a temporary moratorium on the acceptance of conditional use applications for multifamily uses unless such multifamily use is an existing conforming use on the property, or such multifamily conditional use application is outside of the historic district and within a mixed-use development where the square footage of non-residential uses are greater than 75%, as described in the Roswell Unified Development Code, UDC, Section 13.43. In order to make amendments to the Roswell UDC, all those in favor, please raise your hands. The resolution passes unanimously. Thank you very much. Do I have a recommendation? I have a recommendation for closure to discuss personnel, litigation, and real estate. Do I have a motion?
Motion for closure.
Motion from Councilmember Mortland. Do I have a second? Second by Councilmember Hills. All those in favor for recommendation for closure to discuss personnel, litigation, and real estate matters, please raise your hands. It is unanimous, and we go to closure. Thank you.